Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name's David Kameh and it is Monday the 16th of January 2016. Now, you may have watched me do videos before on withholding council tax and why I think it's a good idea for people to withhold council tax, why I think it's a good idea not to contract with your local councils, not to keep that rolling contract going with those corporations, which really are just like Tesco's or anything else. They're just a big business with a CEO, with customer services, making profits, working in partnerships with other corporations. So I've said it a few times why I think it's a good idea to withhold that council tax. And you see people respond. People respond to that. They say, oh, pay. You've got to pay for the police and the hospitals and the schools and the roads. You've got to pay for all these things. And it's not just people on the YouTube comments that say it. You see it to anybody in the streets. That's how a lot of people respond to this. But, what if you don't like? What if you don't have any children, for example, as far as the schools are concerned? What if you don't have any children? What if you don't like the social engineering that's going on in schools? What if you don't like that and you don't agree with it? What if you don't like the Common Core sort of flavour of it all? Why should you pay for it? No man can force another man into a contract, can they? Why should you pay for something you disagree with? It goes against your values. That's what's going on in the schools. What about the police? Why pay for the police, ladies and gentlemen? The police don't. Members of the police force don't arrest treason. I've written to them and said, look, they're committing treason in the local council. Here, this is what it is. Oh no, there's no treason going on there. We're not arresting them for that. In fact, the police have got a scant interest in arresting crimes anyway, real crimes anyway. But it's not all their fault, of course, because they are being centralised deliberately. And it's not through lack of funding, although they might lie to you about that, but it is, they are being centralised. They want to remove them. They want everything to be run by corporations. And another thing about police is they act as policy officers, don't they? Selling harassment and control in the service of big corporations. For example, you've got the frackers come round. They say we're going to dig a big hole in this field here in your village, which could lead to destroying the water supply and earthquakes and so on. And you don't want it to be there anyway. So they put the police. The police work for the corporation to protect that corporation, that fracking corporation, Quadrilla or whatever it is, to do that job. So they're not acting as constables, which are actually meant to be there to ensure your freedom, to uphold the common law. And of course the common law is there, and the Constitution is there to protect you from the heavy-handedness of government at all levels. We don't see much of that. So really you've got to ask the question, why should we pay any money towards the police? Why not start upholding the law ourselves? Everyone has got the power to arrest somebody if they've done harm. So it's worth considering, isn't it? People say, oh, who's going to pay for the schools and the police? Well, you see what you're paying for. What are you actually paying for as far as that's concerned? As for hospitals, people say, who's going to pay for the hospitals? For the international health service that it's turning into, who's going to pay for that? Well, that's paid for with your insurance, isn't it? Your national insurance. Nothing to do with your council tax. So that snookers that one, doesn't it? What about the roads? Who's going to pay for the roads? Well, again, that's paid for with your very expensive road tax, isn't it? It should be, at least. I mean, there's numerous things that your money is going towards that should not be going towards. For example, members of councils continue to commit treason by, for example, just one little example, ladies and gentlemen, by, for example, implementing UN Agenda 21 sustainable development. That is, they use local money to pay for an international plan. And it involves handing over sovereignty to an international body, NGO. It is treason. It is subversion. They also use your money, by the way, that they call tax, but it's your money. Unfortunately, if you are paying them, you have contracted for all this. You've given yourself up a little bit, but there are billing authorities that you can get in touch with and complain if you're actually in the system. But obviously it's not a good idea. I would suggest, ladies and gentlemen, look it up yourself. I don't think it's a good idea to contract with these corporations. Anyway, they use your money to embezzle embezzle that money from you, if you like, to pay for subversion courses in the form of common purpose courses. Common purpose, ladies and gentlemen. These courses lead them to act, any members, any of those graduates of these common purpose courses, these leaders, they're trained to, amongst other things, to act beyond authority, which in law is called ultra vires. As I said before, Julia Middleton, who's pretty up there with the common purpose, she's written a book called Beyond Authority. Can you imagine? And they might as well write a book that's sanctioned by the government called Break the Law. Beyond authority in a position in a council is a criminal offence. It's called misconduct in a public office. It's a serious crime. Another serious crime, by the way, that's not investigated by the police. There's numerous things I could go on as far as this is concerned. You can do your research. You can look at my websites and so on. You can see why, probably, I should imagine, I should imagine you will come to the same conclusion as many people now, that what is the point in handing out our money to these people who spend it on all these things that we don't want. And another thing is they spend it on, it's on fascism, isn't it? Because the council is a corporation and they go into partnerships with other corporations. The council pretends to be government. But anyway, basically you've got sort of government in partnership. You see the word partnership all over the place in all these councils, with corporations, with businesses, which by definition is fascism. Now, I know that my grandparents' house was flattened in the war. They didn't get any recompense for that at all. They ended up living in a cowshed for much of the war. Lost a lot of stuff. Not only that, other people lost lives, didn't they, in agonising pain. Lost limbs, blinded. I used to know a man in my town whose face was burnt off because he was in a tank, fighting against, he was told, of course, fascism. But now we have fascism in our towns, in our villages. Businesses working in cahoots with government, in the interest of those businesses, of course. Now, some of you might say, well, what about the bins? Well, do you know what? I did a little bit of research about that, and this bin company says it costs about £1 a week to collect your bins. So that's £52 a year. That's fine. That'd be fine to pay them to do that, wouldn't it? Though I'd rather pay for a private bin company to do that. But then you might say it's a good idea to coordinate that, so that you can have a local tip and so on. Yeah, these are good things for local areas. But when they're behaving like they are now, we really do. I believe we have to stop funding them. As I've written here in my notes, I ask, is it not time that we all withdrew our council tax, or just did not contract with these people, just saw them as what they are, like another corporation? Tesco's can't force you into a contract. Nobody can force you into a contract. And if we all withdrew our council tax, not only would the councils begin perhaps to run their organisations according to the law and not breaking all sorts of procedure, for example in the courts and so on, etc. If we all withheld the council tax, they'd start thinking what's going on, wouldn't they? I mean, this is surely the strongest way you can protest, much better than standing somewhere with a banner. And perhaps even taking them to court if they act beyond authority. But a good idea, I think. I personally think, ladies and gentlemen, a very good idea to withhold council tax. Not to contract with them. And if that happens, you're going to have more money in your pocket, aren't you? So local people could begin to get together. Those people who've got a little bit more money in their pocket, and if there are things that they want to fund, for example, old people who need to go to town or whatever, they can do it. They can do it themselves. As I said here, local people could afford to get together and pay for things of local importance and interest themselves. Then you're away from this centralised manoeuvring of local authorities and parish councils and so on, which really should know better than being told what to do by central authority. And that central authority, by the way, is international. Partly because, of course, they've allowed in UN Agenda 21 sustainable development. And another thing about council states, of course, is it's communism. They take it from you and it gets shunted around the country. So it's not local anymore. It's just another layer of tax. As far as I'm concerned, it's a complete layer of tax. It should be called a complete layer of fraud. Backed up by fake courts and bully boys. That's a general view as far as I can see. I personally would like to see good councils running lawfully, because I believe there is that level. We're not all individuals, we do have to work together, and it's good to have a means to coordinate the working together in the different levels of locality. Anyway, in the meantime, I think it's essential that we get together. We really do have to get together, because this corporate beast I'm doing that because it's closing in on us. Soon we're not going to be able to go out of our homes. If we're somebody who just stands up for the common law, and just protects ourselves on our own, then we're just going to end up locked in our homes. We're not going to be able to go out. The roads will have barriers on them, tolls and everything else. And when everything will be, you'd be going into a contract where you step outside your house. Basically, that's what it'll end up being. You'll be under total corporate control, with the random law of corporate law, which isn't really law anyway, because as we know, the true law is God's law through Christ, and it's implemented by man's common sense and reason, and it comes out as the common law, and it trumps all legislation. So I think it's essential that we begin to get together so we don't end up in these houses that are, just barricaded off. We need to reclaim not only to claim our lives, we need to and sever those contracts that are holding us down. We need also to get our friends involved, our neighbours involved. We need to begin to take back our streets with people who know their lawful position and who do not consent to this railroading of our country into a corporate monstrosity. Railroading of everybody's countries into it. We need to take back our homes, we need to take back our lives, our homes, our streets, our villages, our towns, our cities, and overall our nation. Under the banner, of course, of the common law, under the banner of lawful behaviour. But we need to get together for this. And one of the ways we can get together, of course, I believe, is for you to join the Common Law Nations Alliance. Please join it, or if you don't want to join it, just follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And if you don't want to do that, please share it. Share it out. Share the information out. Do your research as well on the council tax, on contract law, on the common law. I'm not a qualified solicitor, ladies and gentlemen. But nevertheless, we've all got common sense. We can all live by the law and understand the law. So please do join the Common Law Nations Alliance, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and share. Thank you very much for watching. I'll speak to you soon.